Hey everybody, I want to go through some of the apps that we use here at the Podcast Masters team to manage production. Once production on your podcast starts, there are going to be a few things that are thrown your way as far as communication and project management. So to provide you info on that and help quell the overwhelm with a bunch of new apps, I wanted just to walk through how those things are going to work. So the first thing and the main thing is Slack here. And Slack is like an IM system, like a big group chat for companies and businesses, helps cut down on email and increase communication between teams. So as we're producing and getting ready for the launch of your show, there's a lot of development that goes into, the first few episodes. And as we're getting things ready, we're going to need to chat back and forth pretty regularly to go through review, get your opinion on things, how episodes sound, about music, et cetera, et cetera. And Slack is where we're going to handle all our communication. So you'll get an invite, and when you open Slack, there is one main thing that you want to focus on, and that is the team name. So our team name is Podcast Masters. Now you can log in on your browser. There's a desktop app, and there's also a mobile app. And whenever you log in, you'll need to enter that team name here, podcastmasters.slack. That is the URL for our team. And when you log in, the first channel that you should see is general, and this doesn't really get much action. This is just a standard channel that comes set up when Slack is opened in the first place. So this one won't go away, and then you won't see all of these. This is from my view as managing all of these shows. You will see the general channel and then one single private channel for your show. So for example, we have Improv here, Law Entrepreneur, Open to Excellence. These are all different podcasts. So in Slack, you have one channel that you're going to focus on. All the communication between our team and between you as the host and anybody else that you have working on the show is all going to stay in one spot. And besides the channels, if you need to talk about something, private or some sensitive information, you can direct message individual people. So if you want to send something to me, for example, that won't go to the rest of the team, you can do that through a DM and just send a private direct message to me only or to somebody else on the team. And this is pretty much it. So instead of email, everything's going to come through here. When we have updates, when we're requesting feedback for episodes, when something's ready for your review, when something's published, all of that stuff. We can attach audio here. We can attach images, videos, links, pretty much everything. So we will cut down on email pretty much 100% once we start production on your show. So Slack is the main app that we use. The second one that we use is Dropbox, and this is to store all of our production files that we need, all the audio assets and raw recordings that we need from everybody. So I detail the submission process for Dropbox in a different video. But as far as the episode or the folder structure here, every show is going to have a miscellaneous folder. And in this it depends on your show. There could be artwork in there, brand design, the music that we picked for your show. The raw versions of the music could be in here. This varies from show to show. But usually you're going to see a miscellaneous folder. And then there will be a episodes folder, which obviously will contain all the episodes that we're working on. And you'll see them here in two different formats. Raw files is where all of the, obviously, raw assets will be stored. And then the folder with the same name that isn't labeled raw files is our Logic project. And that's the program that we use to edit and produce and mix in is Logic. So what you want to do whenever you're looking for files here is basically pay attention to the raw files folder. If you need to upload new files for us, if you have to re-record an intro, for example, all that should go in raw files. And then you pretty much won't have to worry about this other folder at all. Your eyes should go right to the raw files one. The other thing besides all of these episodes here is this archived folder. Once an episode's been published and been out for about a week or so, we will start to move them into the archived folder a few at a time. Once they're basically off our radar and have been published. And again, in a different video for Dropbox, in order to save space on your hard drive, I talk about what the archived folder contains and how to unsync that from your computer if you need to in a different video. But just know that if you're looking for an episode and it doesn't show up here and it's already been published, that you probably need to dive in to the archive folder instead. And that's pretty much it for Dropbox. Remember, there's a video detailing instructions and a video detailing selective sync and how to remove these files from your hard drive safely without deleting them in a separate video as well. But this should get you up to speed on how Dropbox is organized. And the last thing is Trello. And you may not be using Trello for your show. This is, I would say, about half and half are shows that use Trello and those that do not. But I do want to give an overview, because our production team is going to use Trello no matter what to track production of your episodes. And it is basically just up to you if you want Trello as another app that's on your radar. So I want to walk through this for you here. So Trello is set up just like an assembly line. We have these lists, these columns here that all are different categories of, production stages. And then we have cards, basically one for each episode that gets produced. And also there are some as templates, some as, a task list that we have when a new show gets launched, things that we have to finish. But most of the time it's going to be a card is for an episode itself. So what happens is, from left to right, these columns, the first one is miscellaneous. So templates usually will go over here. Tasks is the next one, so stuff that actually needs to get done for the show that isn't related to an episode at all will go here. So if we need you to re-record the main intro for the show, or if we need new cover art for the show, or if the website needs to be updated for something specific, that will all go here, and it will be assigned to different people. Talk about that in a second. And then here is where the production starts here at the audio stage, and then we go down the line phase by phase. So every episode starts with audio that will get edited by our editor, and then we'll move it down the line. And then we have show notes and transcripts here. And occasionally there will be an artwork stage here in the middle. And then usually we'll have a review stage by the host. Things need to be reviewed before they go out. And then those reviews and edits get revised here on this last column. And then finally, it will be at the end of the line. The episode is already published. It's done. It's off our radar. But we keep all the cards here. Obviously, this is a new show, so there are nothing to show at this moment. And let me dive into what these cards show you. So from the first glance, as you go into Trello for your show, you should be able to see at a moment's notice what stage of production your episode is in. So first of all, the title of this card here, we start with the episode number. So this is episode 1. It's going to be published on February 14th. Publish date is very important, probably the most important piece of info that we need for every episode. And then the guest name. And sometimes if there is no guest, or if you have a solo show format, instead of the guest name, we'll put the topic, or we'll just say solo there. So that's all information that you need right off just by looking at it, first glance. There are color labels that are going to be on each card to basically get your attention if needed and show you what stage of production everything is in. So yellow is what you'll see most of the time. That means it's in the middle of production. Nothing is needed from you. It's just we started doing the edits and it's going through our assembly line. Sometimes we might be waiting on files, and there's description of the labels is right here. So red means get your attention. There's something wrong. We need files from you. We're waiting on something. And the other common one that you want to pay attention to is this black label, where maybe there's an error. Maybe you sent us files that are corrupt for some reason by accident. Anytime that we need to get your attention, or if we're waiting on an update from the designer, things like that, we'll have the black label on there. And then once it's done, it will be green, and it will sit calmly over here in this last column. But like I said, mostly it's going to be yellow. And then we also have the due date, and the due date and the published date are different. Published date is when the episode goes up and is public. The due date is when this stage is due for completion. So for example, this shows you what member is assigned to this. So if I hover over this, I can see that Hayden is assigned to this card, and it's in Hayden's column, so that is good. And it's due for him to finish edits on February 1st, which is actually today. So once he's done, he will move this card over to the next column. And now Ben will get assigned to the card, and it's signifying that it's on to the next stage and it's somebody else's responsibility. And then the due date will usually change by a day or two as we go through production. Now, like I said, you may or may not be looking at Trello and be active on Trello for your show. If you are, whenever something's needed by you, you will be assigned to the card. So right here, you can see as a member, Hayden is on this card, and instead of him, it will be you will be added, or maybe I will be added as we're waiting for a review. We're waiting for something for you to do, to give us revisions or approve and say it's good for publishing. You will actually be added on the card, and you'll be able to see that regardless of how many people are added. You can see, if I add myself here, for example, you can see how many members are on each given card. So that's something to look out for if you are using Trello for your show. Make sure if there's something that is needed by you, that you get that to us, and we'll usually send reminders through Slack. And then on each card, if I click on this card, it's going to contain information for the show. This one's fairly new, so there isn't anything to see quite yet, but there are comments here. So if Hayden is going through doing the edits and there's an issue, he needs files or something, he'll write a comment here and just say something like, host, need new intro, and I'll show a recording as an example, as a comment, to get your attention and let you know that he needs something else. Most of the time, it will just move through production smoothly. We don't really need anything else. And then usually when content is done being created, we'll attach that here. So, for example, once the episode is completely done and published, this card is going to have attachments for the audio, for the show notes, any artwork that we've done, things like that will all kind of stay in one place for you to look at. And that is the walkthrough. So Slack and Dropbox and Trello, those are the three main apps that we use for managing production of your show.